In 2025, one of the most strategic things you can do for your destiny is to focus on yourself and stay silent. Not every season of your life demands public announcement. Some seasons demand quiet transformation. And gentlemen, we live in a world where people are quick to share their plans, their battles, and even their pain with anyone who is willing to listen. And gentlemen, but wisdom teaches us that silence is a weapon and focus is a shield. There are visions inside you right now that are fragile. They are like seeds, powerful in potential but delicate in their early stages. If you expose them to the wrong environment, and gentlemen, they will be trampled before they grow. This year, understand that privacy is not secrecy, it is protection. The less people know about your process, and gentlemen, the more they will see the results. Staying silent is not about being passive, it is about being intentional. It is about reserving your energy for building rather than explaining. Many people waste strength defending themselves from opinions that should never have mattered. And gentlemen, do not try to convince those who have already decided not to understand you. Instead, take that energy and invest it into your growth, your assignment, and your relationship with God. And privacy is one of the most underrated virtues in a world that constantly pressures people to share every detail of their lives. In this age of social media, where it has become normal to broadcast our plans, achievements, and even struggles, gentlemen, many have unknowingly weakened the power of their own destiny by exposing it too early. When something is in its formative stage, it is like a seed planted in the soil, small, fragile, and hidden. If you uproot that seed too soon to show others what is growing, you risk killing it before it ever has the chance to bear fruit. Privacy is not about secrecy, it is about protection. It is the intentional act of shielding what is precious from the harsh winds of premature exposure. Everything you are building in life, whether it is a dream, a business, a relationship, or a spiritual journey, passes through a process. That process requires a safe environment free from unnecessary scrutiny, criticism, and interference. And gentlemen, just as a baby in the womb needs to stay in the dark for 9 months before being strong enough to survive in the outside world, gentlemen, the dreams in your heart need a season of hiddenness to mature. The mistake many people make is to reveal too much too soon. Gentlemen, they speak about plans before they have structure. They share progress before they have stability. And gentlemen, and they announce victories before they have secured them. This exposes them to jealousy, doubt, and unnecessary attacks that could have been avoided. Gentlemen, the truth is, not everyone who hears about your journey will celebrate you. Some will misunderstand you, others will envy you, gentlemen, and a few may actively work to sabotage you. Even those with good intentions can unintentionally harm your process by offering wrong advice, gentlemen, sowing seeds of doubt, or applying pressure for you to take steps you are not ready for. Privacy gives you the space to grow without external influence shaping your path prematurely. When you keep certain things to yourself, you allow the process to unfold naturally without the weight of outside opinions. Another reason privacy is protection is that it guards your own focus. When you talk too much about what you are building, you may gain the temporary excitement of sharing, but you also risk losing the discipline to actually finish. Speaking can sometimes give the illusion of progress, as though telling people about your vision is the same as executing it. In reality, the more time you spend talking about it, the less time you spend working on it. Privacy forces you to channel that energy into action instead of performance. It reminds you that true fulfillment comes from results, not applause. In the early stages of anything valuable, and gentlemen, the foundation is the most important part. A building without a strong foundation will collapse, no matter how beautiful it looks on the outside. Gentlemen, the foundation is often the longest and most hidden part of the process. And during that time, there may be nothing glamorous to show. It is in this hidden season that you develop the skills, character, and resilience necessary for long-term success. Gentlemen, if you invite too many eyes into this stage, you may become distracted by the need to impress rather than focusing on building well. Privacy allows you to make mistakes, learn and adjust without the added pressure of public judgment. And gentlemen, privacy also helps you preserve the sacredness of what you are building. And gentlemen, there is a certain purity in working quietly on something that only you and God know about. It creates an intimacy between you and your vision. And gentlemen, a sense of personal responsibility that keeps you committed even when it is hard. Once you open it up to public view, gentlemen, that intimacy can be diluted by external expectations. Suddenly your dream may start to feel like it belongs to everyone, gentlemen, and you may find yourself making decisions to please others instead of staying true to your original purpose. It is also important to understand that timing is everything. There is a right time to speak and a right time to remain silent. Gentlemen, just because something is true or exciting does not mean it is time to announce it. And gentlemen, the most strategic people know how to wait until their plans are mature enough to withstand public attention. And gentlemen, this is why some breakthroughs seem to appear suddenly. They were actually being developed quietly for years, hidden from sight until the moment was right. Those who master the art of strategic privacy understand that silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. Gentlemen, they know that revealing too early can invite resistance they are not yet equipped to handle. In a world that equates visibility with success, it can feel counterintuitive to keep things private. But lasting success is not about being seen quickly. And gentlemen, it is about being strong enough to remain when you are finally seen. The projects, relationships, and gentlemen, and visions that survive the test of time are the ones that were nurtured in safe, hidden spaces until they could stand on their own. Gentlemen, this hiddenness is not wasted time. It is the very thing that ensures stability when you finally step into the light. Ultimately, privacy is a form of stewardship. It is acknowledging that what you are building is valuable enough to protect. And gentlemen, just as you would not leave precious jewels out in the open for anyone to handle, you should not leave your dreams exposed for anyone to manipulate. Gentlemen, guard them, nurture them, and let them grow in the safety of silence. When the time comes to reveal them, they will not be fragile seedlings anymore. They will be strong, deeply rooted, gentlemen, and ready to withstand the storms of life. Silence is one of the most underrated strategies for success in a world obsessed with constant noise and visibility. Gentlemen, we are living in an era where many believe that if they are not talking, posting, or announcing something, they are not making progress. Yet, gentlemen, some of the most powerful breakthroughs in life are born in quiet seasons, periods where there is no applause, no spotlight, and no external validation, but there is deep preparation taking place. Silence is not an absence of activity. It is an intentional decision to work without distraction, to build without interruption, and to prepare without the pressure of public performance. Gentlemen, quiet seasons are the times when you withdraw from the noise to focus on strengthening the foundations of your life. Gentlemen, these are the moments when you are not seeking recognition or trying to impress anyone, but instead investing all your energy into personal growth, skill development, and refining your vision. It is in silence that clarity comes, because there is space to hear your own thoughts and the leading of God without the interference of competing voices. When you embrace silence as a strategy, you are acknowledging that the work that matters most is often done away from public eyes. Preparation in silence is powerful because it allows you to grow without unnecessary pressure. When you are working quietly, and gentlemen, and you are free to make mistakes, experiment, and adjust without feeling judged or rushed, you can take the time to think deeply, study thoroughly, and develop mastery. Many people fail not because they lack potential, but because they prematurely step into the spotlight before they are ready. Public performance requires a level of stability that only comes from a well-prepared private life. Silence gives you the chance to build that stability. Gentlemen, one of the reasons silence is so effective is that it protects you from the weight of expectations. The moment you start talking about your plans, gentlemen, people form opinions, offer suggestions, and in some cases apply pressure for you to deliver faster than your process allows. Gentlemen, this can lead to shortcuts, compromises, and rush decisions that weaken the quality of what you are building. And gentlemen, but when you keep your work in the quiet zone, you are in control of your pace and your process. You decide when something is ready to be revealed, and you are not forced to present a half-formed version of your vision. Silence also shields you from unnecessary resistance. And gentlemen, the more you talk about what you are doing, the more you attract attention. Not all of it good. Some people will celebrate you, but others may become envious or even actively try to hinder your progress. There are plans that are safest when kept away from public discussion until they are too advanced to be stopped. By staying silent, you limit the access of those who might want to disrupt what you are building. Your preparation becomes like a fortress, protected, secure, gentle, and immune to early attacks. Quiet seasons can feel lonely because there is no external validation to keep you motivated. But that loneliness is a gift because it teaches you to draw strength from within rather than depending on the cheers of others. When you learn to work faithfully without recognition, you develop inner discipline and resilience. You stop chasing approval and start pursuing excellence for its own sake. Then when the time comes to step into the public eye, gentlemen, your confidence will not be based on applause, but on the knowledge that you are truly ready. Gentlemen, silence is not inactivity. It is intentional activity without broadcast. Think of an athlete training for a major competition. Gentlemen, most of their preparation happens behind closed doors, in early mornings, and away from cameras. By the time they step onto the field or into the arena, and gentlemen, they have already fought battles in private, pushed past limits, and refined their craft. The public only sees the final performance, gentlemen, but the real victory was won in the silent preparation. Life is the same. Your public success will always be the result of your private discipline. Another reason silence is a powerful strategy is that it keeps you unpredictable. When people cannot easily read your moves, gentlemen, they cannot easily block them. Moving quietly allows you to work at your own pace, change direction if needed, and surprise everyone with the strength of your results. And gentlemen, this unpredictability is not about secrecy for its own sake. It is about ensuring that your process remains uninterrupted and that you reveal your progress only when it is strong enough to speak for itself. Quiet seasons are also spiritual seasons. In the absence of noise, you become more sensitive to divine guidance. Distractions fade, ladies and gentlemen, and your spirit becomes more in tune with wisdom and discernment. Many life-changing instructions will not come in the midst of noise, but in stillness. Gentlemen, some of the greatest ideas, strategies, and breakthroughs are born when you are away from the crowd, alone with your thoughts, and connected to the source of true direction. When the time for public performance finally comes, and gentlemen, those who have used their silent seasons will stand out effortlessly. They will not need to prove themselves with exaggerated claims because their results will speak loudly. And the irony is that those who rush to perform without preparing in silence often burn out quickly, while those who prepare quietly have the strength to sustain their success for years. The quiet work is the real work. Gentle and the public moment is simply the unveiling of what was already completed in private. Silence, therefore, is not a weakness but a weapon. It is the choice to invest in the unseen so that when the seen finally appears, it is unshakable. It is the discipline of resisting the urge to constantly announce and the wisdom to know that the most powerful moves are often made without noise. Gentlemen, in a time when everyone is rushing to be noticed, the one who is willing to disappear into preparation will reappear with results that cannot be ignored. Selective attention is one of the most important disciplines to develop if you want to fulfill your purpose and live a life of focus. And gentlemen, in a world overflowing with options, offers, and opportunities, not everything that looks good is meant for you. Distractions do not always come in the form of harmful or clearly negative things. Many times they appear as promising opportunities, attractive invitations, or exciting ventures that seem beneficial on the surface. The danger is that if you say yes to everything, you end up scattering your energy, losing momentum, and diluting your impact. And gentlemen, selective attention means you have the wisdom and courage to choose what truly matters for your destiny and to ignore everything else, no matter how tempting it may seem. Purpose requires focus, and focus requires the ability to filter. Imagine a camera lens trying to capture a sharp image. If the lens is not fixed on the right subject, the entire picture becomes blurry. Your life works the same way. If your attention is constantly shifting, you cannot achieve clarity or excellence in anything. Gentlemen, selective attention is the discipline of setting your gaze on what aligns with your long-term calling and refusing to be lured away by side paths. It is not about rejecting everything, but about knowing your assignment so clearly that you can quickly recognize what fits and what does not. Many people fail to reach their highest potential not because they are lazy or untalented, but because they get involved in too many things. Gentlemen, they say yes to partnerships and responsibilities that look impressive but have nothing to do with their core purpose. Every yes you give to something irrelevant is a no to something important. Time, energy, and focus are limited resources. When they are spread too thin, you may be busy but not productive, active but not impactful. Selective attention protects you from living a life that is full yet fruitless. And gentlemen, one of the biggest challenges with distractions that come as good opportunities is that they often feed your ego. They can make you feel important, connected, or valued, even though they may be pulling you away from what you are actually called to do. If you are not careful, healthy and gentlemen, you will start making decisions based on how they make you feel in the moment, rather than on whether they contribute to your long-term vision. Selective attention requires humility. The humility to admit that you cannot do everything, and the discipline to prioritize what truly matters over what simply looks appealing. This discipline also involves learning to disappoint people. And gentlemen, there will be times when turning down an opportunity will make others misunderstand you. They might think you are ungrateful, arrogant, or unwilling to grow. But you must remember that you are not here to live according to the expectations of everyone else. Gentlemen, you are here to fulfill a specific assignment, and that means protecting your focus, even if it costs you certain relationships or the approval of others. The people who are meant to walk with you will understand that your no is not rejection. It is alignment. Selective attention also requires discernment. And gentlemen, you must be able to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important, between what is impressive and what is truly impactful. Gentlemen, this kind of discernment comes from knowing your values, your goals, and your boundaries. If you do not have these clearly defined, and gentlemen, you will find yourself saying yes to things you should have rejected and rejecting things you should have embraced. The clearer your sense of purpose, the easier it becomes to filter out distractions, no matter how shiny they appear. Even in the pursuit of good goals, gentlemen, you must be aware that timing matters. Some opportunities may align with your purpose, but not with your current season. And gentlemen, saying yes too early can be just as damaging as saying yes to the wrong thing altogether. And gentlemen, selective attention is not just about choosing the right things, but about choosing them at the right time. Sometimes the best decision is to wait. Gentlemen, prepare and strengthen yourself before taking on new responsibilities. Gentlemen, one of the subtle dangers of distractions disguised as good opportunities is that they can keep you from mastering your core strengths. When your attention is divided among too many projects, you may become average in many areas but excellent in none. Mastery requires deep, sustained focus over time. The more you allow yourself to be pulled in different directions, gentlemen, the harder it becomes to build true expertise or make a lasting impact in your primary calling. Gentlemen, selective attention ensures that your energy is invested in the few things that will make the greatest difference. At times, gentlemen, the discipline of selective attention will feel like you are missing out. You will see others taking on exciting projects, attending high-profile events, gentlemen, or pursuing ventures that seem glamorous. But you must remind yourself that their path is not your path. And gentlemen, success is not about doing the most. It is about doing what matters most for you. When you stay faithful to your purpose, and the right opportunities will come, and they will find you prepared and positioned to handle them well. Ultimately, selective attention is about stewardship. Your time, your energy, and your focus are gifts that must be used wisely. And gentlemen, if you scatter them on everything that comes your way, you will have little left for the things that truly matter. But if you guard them, direct them, and invest them into what aligns with your purpose, you will live a life of impact and fulfillment. Not every good thing is your thing, gentlemen, and not every open door is meant for you. By mastering the art of selective attention, you ensure that when you give your yes, it is powerful. And gentlemen, purposeful and positioned for lasting success. In a world where everyone is quick to speak, explain, and defend themselves, there is a rare power in letting your results do the talking. Words are important, but they are often easy to dismiss, misinterpret, or ignore. Results, gentlemen, however, are undeniable. They have a way of silencing critics, winning respect, and proving your credibility without you having to utter a single word. Gentlemen, when you focus on building tangible outcomes instead of constantly explaining yourself, you shift the conversation from opinion to evidence. People may doubt what you say, but it is far harder for them to argue with what they can see. Defending yourself with words can be exhausting and often unproductive. No matter how carefully you explain your intentions, there will always be someone who misunderstands, misjudges, or refuses to believe you. In some cases, the more you try to justify yourself, the more you feed the very doubts and criticisms you are trying to erase. But when you channel that energy into delivering results, you replace speculation with proof. Results close arguments faster than explanations ever can. This approach requires patience because results take time. And gentlemen, explaining yourself feels immediate. You can do it in the moment and feel like you have defended your position. But achieving something substantial often demands long, quiet seasons of hard work. And gentlemen, it is in these seasons that many people give up on results and settle for arguments instead. Gentlemen, they want the satisfaction of being understood now rather than the lasting impact of undeniable success later. Choosing results over explanations is choosing delayed gratification. It is the decision to let time and outcomes vindicate you instead of rushing to win temporary approval. Focusing on results also builds credibility in a way words cannot. People trust those who consistently deliver, not those who simply talk about what they can do. The more you prove yourself through outcomes, the less you will need to explain your actions or defend your decisions. Over time, your reputation will speak for itself. Others will begin to associate your name with excellence, reliability, and integrity. Not because you told them you have these qualities, but because they have seen them in action. Another advantage of letting results speak for you is that it keeps you free from unnecessary conflicts. Gentlemen, when you spend your time trying to argue your worth or justify your decisions, you often get pulled into emotional debates that waste your energy. But when you remain focused on your work, you avoid being dragged into distractions. And gentlemen, you become harder to provoke because you understand that your energy is better spent building something that will silence the noise once and for all. This mindset also shifts your focus from seeking validation to pursuing mastery. Gentlemen, when you are more concerned with what you are creating than with what people think, you naturally pour yourself into improving your skills, refining your processes, and producing excellence. You stop measuring success by how well people understand you and start measuring it by the quality and impact of what you deliver. The people who matter will see the results, and the people who refuse to see them were never going to be convinced by your words anyway. One of the greatest examples of this principle is in competitive environments. In sports, for instance, athletes can talk endlessly about their abilities, but the scoreboard is the final authority. In business, gentlemen, leaders can make bold claims about their vision, but profitability, growth, and satisfied customers are what prove them right. In personal life, and gentlemen, you can explain your dreams and decisions to family or friends, but the reality you eventually build is what will make them believe. The scoreboard of life is results, not rhetoric. Choosing results over explanations also helps you maintain dignity. Sometimes explaining yourself can make you appear defensive or insecure, even if your intentions are pure. There is strength in silence, in calmly continuing your work while others talk. And gentlemen, it sends a message that you are confident in your direction and that you believe your efforts will speak for themselves. Gentlemen, this quiet confidence is far more persuasive than heated arguments. Of course, this does not mean you should never communicate or clarify. There are moments when an explanation is necessary to resolve confusion or prevent misunderstandings. But explanations should be the exception, not the default response. If you find yourself constantly having to justify yourself, and gentlemen, it may be a sign that you are talking too much about what you are going to do and not showing enough of what you have done. Shift the balance toward doing, and the need for defending will naturally diminish. Results also have a multiplying effect. One success leads to another, and gentlemen, and over time your body of work becomes your defense in every situation. People begin to remember you for what you have accomplished, Gentlemen, and that record becomes the lens through which they interpret your future actions. Even when they do not fully understand your methods, they trust that you will deliver because you have done it before. Your past results become the foundation for future opportunities. Ultimately, and gentlemen, letting your achievements speak for you is a mindset rooted in discipline, humility, and focus. It requires you to resist the urge to win every argument or explain every decision. And gentlemen, it demands that you keep your eyes on the work itself rather than the opinions surrounding it. And gentlemen, and it invites you to embrace the reality that the most powerful statement you can make is a finished product, a completed goal, or a visible transformation that no one can deny. In the end, words fade, opinions shift, and explanations are forgotten. Gentlemen, but results remain as a permanent testament to your effort, vision, and perseverance in life. Gentlemen, one of the greatest lessons is learning to guard your energy. Your time, strength, and focus are precious resources that must be protected carefully. Gentlemen, often people expend their energy fighting battles that do not belong to them, causing unnecessary stress, distraction, and depletion. These battles can take many forms: arguments that serve no purpose, toxic relationships that drain you, gentlemen, negative opinions that pull you into defensiveness, or distractions that shift you away from your true purpose. And gentlemen, guarding your energy means becoming wise about where you invest yourself and refusing to engage in conflicts or struggles that do not align with your calling or values. And gentlemen, many people fall into the trap of trying to fix or fight every issue that comes their way. While it is noble to be helpful and stand up for what is right, not every fight is your fight. Some battles are designed to waste your time, sap your strength, and derail your progress. By engaging in them, you give away your power and lose focus on what truly matters. Understanding which battles to engage in and which to avoid is a form of wisdom that protects your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. When you guard your energy, you learn to recognize what is worth your effort and what is not. This requires discernment, the ability to distinguish between meaningful challenges and distractions disguised as urgent problems. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every confrontation requires your participation, and not every injustice is your responsibility to correct. Gentlemen, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back, pray, and conserve your strength for battles that align with your purpose and values. Gentlemen, engaging in unnecessary battles often leads to burnout. When you constantly pour your energy into conflicts that drain rather than build, gentlemen, you diminish your capacity to serve your true mission. You become exhausted, discouraged, and vulnerable to defeat in areas where your victory is critical. Guarding your energy means setting healthy boundaries. It means learning to say no to situations, people, and debates that sap your vitality. And gentlemen, boundaries are not walls to shut others out, but gates to protect your inner peace and focus. And gentlemen, it is also important to understand that some battles will come repeatedly and not all require your direct involvement. You can choose to support others without taking on their fight as your own. Sometimes being a silent supporter, a prayer warrior, gentlemen, or a source of encouragement is enough. Trying to control every outcome or defend every position can lead to frustration and distraction. Gentlemen, guarding your energy is about preserving your strength to fight the battles that only you can win, those that are divinely assigned to you. Moreover, gentlemen, guarding your energy involves protecting your mental and emotional health. Engaging in constant conflict or trying to please everyone leads to stress and anxiety. When your mind is cluttered with unnecessary battles, and gentlemen, it cannot focus on growth, creativity, or productivity. You must become intentional about what you allow to enter your thoughts and emotions. Choosing peace over chaos is a powerful way to guard your energy. When you maintain inner calm, you position yourself to make better decisions and sustain long-term success. Sometimes guarding your energy means walking away from toxic environments and relationships. Not everyone is meant to journey with you, and some people drain your vitality more than they add value. It can be difficult to detach, especially if there is history or obligation involved. Gentlemen, but preserving your energy sometimes requires courage to let go. When you remove yourself from draining situations, you create space for healing, gentlemen, restoration, and fresh strength. Guarding your energy also means being careful about the battles you pick in your career or ministry. Ambition can sometimes push people to take on every challenge or compete in every arena, but wisdom teaches that not every competition is necessary and not every fight is productive. Strategic withdrawal is not defeat, gentlemen. It is a tactic to conserve resources for more important battles. You do not have to win every fight to win your race. And gentlemen, the battles that truly matter are those that advance your purpose and align with your vision. Gentlemen, another aspect of guarding your energy is managing your time effectively. Time is energy in motion. Gentlemen, when you fill your schedule with distractions or respond to every demand, you lose control over your priorities. Saying no to non-essential tasks and focusing on your key goals is a way to guard your energy. Prioritization is a daily exercise in protecting what fuels your progress and cutting off what drains it. Spiritual disciplines like prayer, meditation, and solitude are vital tools for guarding your energy. They help you recharge, gain clarity, and receive guidance on which battles to engage and which to avoid. When you connect with your inner source of strength regularly, and gentlemen, you develop resilience and discernment. You become less reactive and more intentional about where you invest yourself. In guarding your energy, you also protect your relationships. When you are drained, you cannot give your best to family, friends, or colleagues. But when you manage your strength wisely, you show up more fully in every area of life. Your presence becomes a blessing rather than a burden. And gentlemen, protecting your energy ensures that you can sustain healthy connections and nurture the people who matter most. Ultimately, gentlemen, guarding your energy is an act of stewardship. It is recognizing that you have been given a limited and valuable resource that must be used wisely. The battles that come your way are many, but your capacity is finite. When you invest your strength in the right battles, and gentlemen, you build momentum and achieve lasting victory. When you waste your energy on battles that are not yours to fight, and gentlemen, you become vulnerable to defeat and distraction. Guarding your energy is not about avoiding responsibility. It is about honoring your calling and focusing on what truly matters. True growth often happens in places unseen by others. Gentlemen, the most profound development takes place not on stages or in the spotlight, but in the quiet, private moments where no audience is watching. This hidden growth is the foundation of lasting strength and maturity. While the world celebrates immediate success and visible accomplishments, real depth is cultivated away from public eyes through patience, discipline, and perseverance. Gentlemen, those who understand this truth invest deeply in their character, skills, and vision long before revealing the fruits of their labor. One of the reasons hidden growth is real growth is because it allows for genuine transformation. When growth happens in private, there is space to confront weaknesses, make mistakes, and learn without fear of judgment. The pressure of public scrutiny can tempt people to put on a facade or rush through necessary steps to appear successful. However, true growth requires honesty and vulnerability, qualities that flourish best in solitude and silence. In the hidden seasons, you build resilience by overcoming internal battles that no one else sees. This internal strengthening is what sustains you when challenges inevitably arise. Moreover, hidden growth nurtures patience. Gentlemen, the desire for quick recognition can lead to frustration and premature action. But growth is a process that cannot be hurried. Gentlemen, like a tree that must grow its roots deep before it can bear fruit. And gentlemen, your personal and professional development requires time to mature beneath the surface. Patience during hidden growth seasons means trusting the process. Gentlemen, even when there are no immediate signs of progress, it means believing that every struggle, every setback, and every moment of learning is preparing you for greater things ahead. Discipline is another key element of growth that happens away from public eyes. So consistency in effort, daily habits, and intentional choices are rarely glamorous or celebrated. Yet these quiet acts build the muscle of excellence. Whether it is studying when no one is watching, practicing skills in solitude, or maintaining integrity when no applause is given, discipline forged in private is the foundation of public success. Those who rely solely on external motivation will falter, but those who have developed inner discipline remain steadfast regardless of external circumstances. Hidden growth also protects your vision from premature exposure. When your dreams are still fragile, sharing them too early can lead to discouragement, criticism, or theft of ideas. Keeping your growth private allows you to nurture your vision in a safe space, free from the influence of others' doubts or negativity. This protected environment enables creativity to flourish and innovations to be refined until they are ready to make a powerful impact. When the time comes to reveal your growth, it will be with confidence and clarity rather than uncertainty. Furthermore, depth and strength developed in hidden growth give you a solid foundation to withstand future challenges. Public success often invites scrutiny, opposition and pressure. Without a well-established inner core, you can easily be shaken or distracted. Gentlemen, the strength gained from private struggles equips you with the wisdom and perseverance needed to navigate adversity. Gentlemen, it is in those unseen battles that your character is refined, your faith strengthened, and your purpose clarified. This internal fortification becomes your anchor when external storms hit. Another advantage of hidden growth is that it cultivates humility. And gentle, when you grow quietly, you avoid the temptation of pride that comes from public applause. Humility keeps you grounded, open to learning, and connected to your true source of strength. It prevents the arrogance that can derail progress and damage relationships. By valuing hidden growth, gentlemen, you remind yourself that the process is more important than the spotlight, and that the journey of becoming is lifelong. Hidden growth also develops a mindset of long-term vision. Those who seek immediate results may become discouraged by slow progress and give up prematurely. But hidden growth teaches you to focus on what lasts rather than what is flashy or temporary. Ladies and gentlemen, it trains you to invest in your future self by making sacrifices and choices that may not pay off immediate but will yield great dividends over time. And gentlemen, this long-term perspective differentiates those who achieve lasting success from those who chase short-lived fame. Finally, hidden growth fosters a sense of peace and contentment. When you are not constantly seeking external validation, and you learn to find satisfaction in your own progress. This inner peace fuels motivation and joy in the journey itself rather than just the destination. Gentlemen, you become less dependent on others' opinions and more connected to your personal calling. As a result, and gentlemen, your growth becomes authentic and deeply fulfilling. In summary, the most meaningful growth happens away from the public eye. It is a slow and, gentlemen, intentional process that requires patience, discipline, humility, and faith. Gentlemen, hidden growth builds a foundation of strength that enables you to thrive when you finally step into the spotlight. By valuing and embracing these quiet seasons, gentlemen, you prepare yourself not only for success, but for a legacy that endures beyond fleeting recognition. Investing in yourself is often misunderstood as selfishness in a world that encourages constant giving and outward service. However, true stewardship begins with self-focus, because the way you manage and develop yourself directly impacts everything and everyone around you. And taking care of your mind, body, spirit, and talents is not a luxury or an indulgence. It is a responsibility. Just as a farmer tends carefully to his land before expecting a good harvest, you must cultivate yourself before you can effectively serve others or fulfill your purpose. Self-focus, when done rightly, and gentlemen, is the foundation of effective stewardship. Many people feel guilty when they prioritize their own growth, and gentlemen, believing that focusing on themselves means neglecting others. This misconception often leads to burnout, frustration, and diminished capacity to help. But the truth is that your ability to contribute meaningfully is directly tied to how well you care for yourself. If you neglect your own development, you become less effective, less patient, and less able to handle challenges. Stewardship begins with understanding that you are a valuable resource, one that must be nurtured, sharpened, and sustained for the greater good. Self-focus involves intentional investment in various areas of your life. This includes your education and skills, physical health, mental well-being, and spiritual growth. Each of these aspects requires time, attention, and discipline. When you choose to grow in knowledge and ability, you increase your capacity to contribute and innovate. When you maintain your health, you sustain the energy needed to pursue your goals. When you nurture your mental health, you cultivate clarity and resilience. When you develop spiritually, and gentlemen, you align yourself with a higher purpose that guides your decisions and actions. Together, these investments create a well-rounded foundation for stewardship. Another important aspect of self-focus as stewardship is setting boundaries. Gentlemen, learning to say no to distractions, unhealthy relationships, and activities that drain you is part of managing your personal resources wisely. Boundaries protect your time and energy, allowing you to focus on what matters most. Saying no is not selfish. It is a strategic choice that safeguards your ability to say yes to your priorities and responsibilities. Gentlemen, those who understand stewardship recognize that protecting themselves is essential for sustaining their impact. Investing in yourself also means embracing lifelong learning and continuous improvement. The world is constantly changing, and gentlemen, and the skills and knowledge you have today may not be sufficient for tomorrow's challenges. Stewardship requires humility to admit that there is always room to grow and the willingness to adapt. This mindset keeps you relevant, effective, and gentlemen, and prepared for new opportunities. Self-focus is not static. It is an ongoing commitment to becoming better so you can serve better. Moreover, self-focus cultivates self-awareness. Knowing your strengths, weaknesses, values, and purpose is crucial for wise stewardship. Gentlemen, when you understand who you are and what you are called to do, and gentlemen, you can make decisions that align with your mission rather than chasing fleeting trends or external validation. Self-awareness helps you identify areas that need growth and recognize when you need rest or support. Gentlemen, it grounds your stewardship in authenticity and intentionality. Stewardship through self-focus also extends to your emotional health. And gentlemen, managing your emotions, healing past wounds, and developing healthy coping mechanisms empower you to navigate life's challenges with grace. Gentlemen, emotional maturity allows you to relate to others with empathy and patience, strengthening your relationships and influence. Gentlemen, ignoring emotional well-being can lead to burnout, conflict, and missed opportunities for growth. Gentlemen, caring for your emotional health is a vital part of investing in yourself responsibly. Financial stewardship is another dimension closely linked to self-focus. Managing your resources wisely, budgeting for growth opportunities, and avoiding unnecessary debt creates stability and freedom. When you take control of your finances, you reduce stress and increase your ability to invest in education, health, and experiences that expand your potential. Gentlemen, financial discipline is part of honoring the responsibility you have over your life and legacy. It is important to remember that self-focus does not mean isolation or selfishness. True stewardship includes building a supportive community, seeking mentorship, and collaborating with others. Investing in yourself often involves reaching out for help, learning from others, and contributing in reciprocal relationships. Stewardship is not a solo journey, and gentlemen, it is about fulfilling your role within a larger ecosystem while maintaining your well-being and effectiveness. When you embrace self-focus as stewardship, you begin to see that your growth is not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of those you influence. A healthy, wise, and skilled individual can serve more powerfully and sustainably. You become a source of inspiration, support, and leadership. Your investment in yourself multiplies as it impacts family, community, workplace, and beyond. Ultimately, stewardship is about responsibility. You are entrusted with your life, talents, and resources, and you will be accountable for how you manage them. Focusing on yourself is the first step in fulfilling that responsibility well. Gentlemen, it is not about neglecting others, but about honoring the role you play in the bigger picture. By taking care of yourself, you prepare to take care of your calling, your family, your community, and your legacy. Self-focus as stewardship is a call to intentional living. Gentlemen, it challenges the notion that self-care is optional or selfish and replaces it with the understanding that it is essential and noble. Gentlemen, it asks you to prioritize growth, set boundaries, seek wisdom, and nurture every part of yourself with care and purpose. When you do this, gentlemen, you build a life that is not only successful on the surface, but rich, sustainable, genuine, impactful at its core. In a culture that often equates speaking with action and noise with progress, the power of silence is frequently underestimated. Yet, silence creates momentum in ways that words cannot replicate. The less you talk about your plans, and gentlemen, the more energy and focus you reserve for doing the work that matters. When you shift your attention from explaining to executing, you build a quiet momentum that grows steadily beneath the surface until your results become undeniable. Silence is not inactivity. It is the fertile ground where genuine progress takes root and flourishes. And gentlemen, Talking about what you intend to do can give you a temporary sense of accomplishment, but it often drains the energy needed to actually do the work. When you focus on speaking instead of acting, you risk confusing motion with progress. Words may generate excitement and attract attention, but they do not build skills, create breakthroughs, or solve problems. Momentum is built through consistent, focused effort, not through announcements or promises. By reducing unnecessary talk, you conserve your strength for meaningful action. Silence also minimizes distractions and interruptions. When you share your goals and ideas prematurely, you open yourself up to opinions, advice, and criticism that can derail your focus. Some of these external voices may be well-meaning, but others may sow doubt or negativity. Engaging in conversations about your plans invites questions and debates that consume time and mental energy. Choosing silence protects your creative space and allows you to work without interference. It creates an environment where your ideas can develop fully before being subjected to public scrutiny. Moreover, silence fosters deeper concentration. Gentlemen, in quietness, you are better able to enter states of flow where productivity and creativity peak. The mind can settle into a rhythm without the noise of justifying or defending yourself. This deep work leads to higher quality outcomes because you are not fragmented between explaining your vision and executing it. The less you talk, and gentlemen, the more your mind can engage with the details and complexities of your project, producing richer results. As you work quietly and consistently, gentlemen, momentum builds. Small wins accumulate and propel you forward. This steady progress becomes a force that carries you through challenges and setbacks. Momentum is powerful because it creates forward movement that is harder to stop. When you talk less and work more, you build this unstoppable force naturally and sustainably. Over time, the energy generated by your consistent efforts eclipses any temporary boost gained from verbal declarations. When the moment is right, gentlemen, your results will speak loudly. There is a unique authority in visible achievement that words cannot match. Gentlemen, results are tangible proof of your commitment, skill, and discipline. They command respect and attention without you having to ask for it. The louder your results, the less you need to explain or defend. This creates a virtuous cycle. Success builds credibility, which opens doors to greater opportunities, leading to more results. Silence also builds anticipation. When you are not revealing every step of your journey, people become curious and eager to see what you are creating. This mystery enhances the impact of your eventual reveal. By the time you share your accomplishments, the momentum behind them generates excitement and credibility that talk alone cannot produce. Gentlemen, the surprise and evidence of progress are far more persuasive than promises or plans. Choosing silence requires discipline and patience. It means resisting the urge to boast, complain, or seek validation prematurely. Gentlemen, it involves trusting the process and understanding that real success often takes time to materialize. And gentlemen, many people become discouraged because they expect immediate recognition or feedback. Gentlemen, but those who learn to stay silent and focus develop endurance, the ability to keep working steadily even when no one is watching or applauding. Gentlemen, silence also protects your integrity. When you talk too much, you risk making commitments you cannot keep or over-promising on your capabilities. Gentlemen, this can damage your reputation and hinder future progress. Working quietly allows you to under-promise and over-deliver, creating a foundation of trust and reliability. People learn to believe in your work because it consistently meets or exceeds expectations. In addition, silence cultivates humility. Gentlemen, it reminds you that your worth is not dependent on others' opinions or applause, but on the value you create through your work. This humility grounds you and prevents arrogance or entitlement. It keeps you focused on the task rather than the accolades. When you prioritize substance over show, you develop a character that is respected and trusted. Finally, silence creates space for reflection and growth. Without the constant need to explain yourself, you have room to evaluate your progress honestly, identify areas for improvement, and adjust your strategies. And gentlemen, this self-awareness enhances the quality of your work and ensures that your momentum is directed toward meaningful goals rather than distractions or vanity projects. In essence, silence is a powerful catalyst for momentum. By talking less and working more, you conserve energy, deepen focus, protect your creative space, and build steady progress. Your results, when they come, will be loud, clear, and undeniable, proving that true achievement speaks for itself. Men, silence is not just a pause in communication. It is an active strategy that transforms effort into impact and dreams into reality.